don't know because, I know that Hogan his home is WWE and all the rest of it, but last time he come back, Matt, we had the whole Hulk Hogan tour and it was the Hulkamania Returns tour. They didn't seem to do a lot with him after WrestleMania 30. I got why they would want him back for WrestleMania 30 being the anniversary, but other than Tough Enough, I mean, really, what did they use him for? I mean, he was basically on the network more than on TV. I would have liked to have seen them use the character that he was playing in TNA a little bit more and having the politics games with Triple H and the Authority, but they didn't go that route. And, I think what you've got to remember about this one is it's still risky for WWE to have him coming in at this stage. But, I don't know what if that's... You've got to think of the value of this guy, really.
Yeah, it feels like Hogan's role could be very limited if he did come back, because it's shown now that he's not even that great on the mic anymore. I don't know whether it's old age or something catching up with the guy, but he makes too many slips, and sometimes slips that you can't really afford to make. So it's definitely got to be more a promotional side of things, hasn't it? Like maybe going around like promoting future shows that are coming up and whatever. I can't see him really having too much of a big deal on the storyline side of things.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, never say never in WWE, and I would expect to see him back at some point, but I just don't think he's going to be back in that sort of capacity that people... I still don't think he's... I know there was a rumour going out that the WWE were planning to have him at WrestleMania again, but I don't really see the value in that. I don't see the need in having him at the moment. And I reckon there'll be a bit more of a break between the two before we see him sharp in at least WWE terms anyway. Let's go to our next question and let's try and wrap things up soon. We got a question now from another regular listener, or at least emailer in anyway. Stay Lucky is back again. First, I feel sorry for SmackDown. What with the World Series last week, now the presidential results Tuesday. Good luck again on the ratings. Forget the Goldberg slip. That spear looked worse to Heyman. Do you think Goldberg is up for this gig? I know fans say, well, Sting did it, but Sting didn't take 12 years out of his wrestling ring career. He had ring shape. P.S. As always, stay lucky. So thank you for your question there, Matt. I mean, there is a bit of a big difference between a Sting and a Goldberg, and he's quite right. A good point pointed out is that Sting had a pretty decent career in TNA. All right, he wasn't always full time, but he was definitely more active than what Goldberg's been in the last 12 years. Is that going to play a big part? That just the ring, the ring sort of psychology itself, like being in the ring and having that sharpness, is that going to play a part, do you think, in this?
It's just another thing to add to the list, isn't it? I mean, I'm not expecting fireworks between like Brock and Goldberg anyway. And the whole him being away from the ring for 12 years, you can get some severe ring rust in that kind of time. I'm not expecting Goldberg to be technically crisp or whatever. Not that he particularly ever was. He was more of an explosive kind of wrestler, and at his age, the explosiveness is probably limited as well. So. I am trying to be optimistic. It's just I see Brock doing a lot of the work in this match.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that one. And, I think Goldberg's in decent shape. I know he trains in MMA, but that is totally different to the wrestling ring. I think he's going to be in good shape. He'll look good. He might be smaller, but he's definitely, his physical presence is definitely not to be... for a guy of his age, he looks great. But... against Brock, it's a whole different ball game. If Goldberg came back and wrestled anybody else, I'd say he's going to look great. But up against Brock, it's like a whole different ball game. Even the best looking wrestlers in there look kind of small against Brock. So I think listen, the slip is not a major deal to me. I'm not too fussed about that. I think you're right about the spear, though. I mean, it did look a bit dodgy how he did that. So, I think there's definitely going to be some ring rust, but hopefully, as we keep saying on this episode at least, it's whoever's producing it will know all this ahead of time, and they're going to do it just correctly. I don't expect it to be that long, Matt, this match, I've got to say. I really don't. Next question from Leah. I really, really enjoyed your Lou Thesz Buddy Rogers match. It's something I would never have watched unless you covered it. Can you tell me when the next ones are coming and what match will be on it? So yeah, really pleased that you emailed us in about this, and that we gave you that that chance to go back and see something. I've got to say, probably I wouldn't have gone back on it unless we were doing this sort of thing. But we had it emailed into us that was the request from doing us a favour. So we've actually ahead of time, we've got a lot of these canned at the moment, and I can tell you a couple of the matches. We do go back to Lou Thesz, and we also go back to Buddy Rogers as well. So you're going to get two of them, but you're also going to get a Puerto Rico. We cover Texas, and we even cover World of Sport. So there's a lot coming up, and we've basically thrown a lot of them out at some point. But I'll let you know. I'm expecting to send one out at the end of this month. So DX1. I'm so ready for UFC 205. Going to be freaking amazing. What fight are you most looking forward to watching? I'm fascinated to know this from you guys as well. Do you think MMA and wrestling having competition is more overrated, and in reality it's more between boxing and MMA? So to your first question there, I'm looking mainly forward to Conor McGregor and Alvarez. Matt, is there a particular match that stands out for you that you're most looking forward to at UFC?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of people would say Conor McGregor just because he has that ability to finish a fight, doesn't he? So you know you're in for a world class kind of fight.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And in terms, Matt, of the overratedness, we already spoke about it earlier between wrestling and MMA, but I think it's got a point. I think there is more between boxing and MMA than there is between wrestling and MMA. And, you look at the amount of stars that boxing make, it's not as many as they used to have, and certainly because of the money involved and the different promoters, it's much harder to get a great card. I mean, I think with boxing, and I heard Mike Tyson say this as well, is that with boxers, they tend, Matt, when they're building a guy up, they give him a load of rubbish for about 15 fights, and then they get the super fight with another guy, and then that's it. But with UFC, what Mike Tyson was saying is that they just put on the best fight there and then. They don't care about the build-up and your records so much. So I think they have that in that corner. What's your take on that, Matt, between boxing and MMA?
Yeah, it's another one, isn't it? It's not really that comparable to like WWE. Mm-hmm. I suppose it's more similar, being like it's unpredictable, but they do throw angles a lot in boxing, don't they? Mm-hmm. They will try and match up the people that they want, and it takes ages and ages for a fight to actually come around. Mm-hmm. Like when they start building it up, they'll protect one, put him against some weaker opponents. Yeah. And we spoke about this, I think, on a previous podcast as well. That it's much better in the UFC that people like Rousey can come back and just be thrown into the mix straight away, even though they've had quite a lot of time, and they would spend ages building it up in boxing. But in the UFC, you're given these great quality matches straight away. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Okay, thank you for that question. Here he is, Jimbo, Wrestler Squad number 9. I knew it was coming. I've never seen so many pointless titles in WWE at one time. Nothing means anything. Why was it only 3 years ago WWE told the fans, and me more importantly, it was better to have one champion? So they sold it as the historical match that Randy Orton won. Now that's forgotten. Is this down to everyone has to have a trophy like a kid? Also, I hate watching WWE performers sitting on stools in the ring or standing opposite one another, and they just give goofy insults to one another, and that's meant to make it look good. Please, what's this? Please, can please can you tell me what you think of this? So, Matt, Jimbo, Wrestler Squad number 9, as usual, throws out a curveball to us. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the whole thing about all the titles, Matt, I mean, there are a hell of a lot of titles, and even I'm a little bit, like, flabbergasted about the amount now. And I do think some of the value's gone off it. I mean, let's face it, Matt, if SummerSlam and Survivor Series have Brock at the main event, those titles, what do they really mean? I don't know. And definitely the credibility between the Universal and the WWE one has gone down a lot, I think, since they've split them into two. I don't know what you think about that, but I just don't think I'm not looking at one of those guys as the main person anymore. Like, they don't seem that the best guy isn't necessarily at the top. I'm not knocking AJ Styles, but I don't know. He's kind of sharing it a little bit. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it is a little bit disappointing, isn't it, about the amount of titles? But when they went the decision that they were going to split the shows, didn't they? And then I suppose the fear kicked in a little bit that, you know, if one show doesn't have a heavyweight champion, then will that be a little bit uneven? Will people focus on the show that has the heavyweight champion? That didn't bother me so much. The thing that bothered me more was the fact that they split the women's title. The division was really starting to take off, you know, and it just feels like a step backwards having two belts. The fact that there is no one top woman, and you know, I'm not saying anything bad against Becky. I'm just saying that when she was competing against Charlotte and Sasha and all of that, she didn't win the belt, and now you know you've got questions raised that is she a second class kind of champion because she didn't make it when there was only one title. But at the same time, I guess they're trying, like you said a little while ago, they're trying to make stars, aren't they? And putting a belt on them does a lot to help someone gain credibility.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. To your second point, Jimbo, about the whole wrestlers sitting on stools, and that's been going on for ages. But I mean, it's nothing. I do get what you mean. I mean, it is the things I hate most, Matt. I think I mentioned this before. Is like that one particular that they'd done before Money in the Bank, and you had all the wrestlers sitting on top of the ladders, and they were trading. Yeah. I mean, that's so fixed and sort of false down our throats.
For a minute, we was getting into Miz TV kind of.
I did not enjoy that, and I think they have to be careful. WWE with doing silly stuff like that because again. You go back to the Attitude Era, they would never have done stuff like that. It would have always ended in a complete fight. But now they're doing little one-upmanships about who can get the best line in. It's not really what you want to hear from your favourite wrestler you're trying to get behind. So, I totally agree with you, Jimbo. But it is what it is, of course. Let's hope you're a bit more happier for next week, Jimbo, please. Only kidding. We love you. We love you emailing him. Danny K now. I grew up on the Attitude Era, but why is it that today's roster looks like it has so much depth and even better wrestlers than the Attitude Era? Why can't they do as well as the Attitude Era then? So, Matt, what is the... I mean, he's probably right. I mean, we grew up in the Attitude Era as well. I probably agree with him. Nowadays they have got a huge depth and pull, and probably have got better wrestlers than they did back then. What is the major difference, Matt? Is there one thing we can put our finger on?
For me, it's just the willingness to take a risk. You know, back then they were taking huge risks. You know, because they had the competition, didn't they? They had that threat,
good point.
and they had to up their game. So, of course, they were taking risks left, right and centre. And it always stands out in my mind the risk they took with Mick Foley when they put the championship on him, you know. And these days they could be doing stuff like that if they put the title on someone like Bray, you know, but they won't take that risk.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And a lot of the times they leave it too late. That by the time the guy does win it, we're already like, that should have happened ages ago. Similar to Dean Ambrose, in fact, I felt his title run come too late. And I think people had cheered for him as much as they could, the year before, and that's when they should have done it, but they left it too late. And also a big factor into this, Matt, if you go back to the Attitude Era and you watch some of that old stuff, everybody was over. I mean, the wrestlers were over. For instance, I think The Godfather is more over than most of the roster is today. Al Snow was more over on the head gimmick. I mean, they were over with the fans, and it didn't matter what level they were at. They were just over. People knew who they were.